Good morning. With everything going on with me, I'm training hard again. I've actually gained about 10 pounds in the last few weeks. Some of it was just filling back out a bit and I put on some muscle, obviously, and I'm getting stronger. I want to talk about a couple things here: buying groceries, buying bulk, saving money. A lot of people, for some reason, try to give me some bullshit excuse that eating enough protein is extremely expensive, and most people spend more on one meal at Subway than I do on an entire day eating over 300 grams of protein. I always try to shop smart. There's no reason to be frivolous with money, obviously, but I don't want to cut myself short on quality either. I get the bulk of my protein from food, and I'll go through a few examples here. One thing, everybody talks about the 1 gram per pound of body weight in order to put on muscle. That is actually the minimal requirement in order to do so. And depending on how hard somebody is training, how their hormones are and everything else, it has been shown that depending on how fast somebody is growing from their training, people have actually consumed and used up to 2 grams per pound of body weight. Now that is the extreme end. So the normal person, let's say, that's just going through the motions and doing the original, like, say, I like to talk about the X3 system. It's one of my big things. But they're just doing the original 1 set per day. That sort of person, 1 gram per pound of body weight is plenty. Now, the few studies that have actually used examples like extreme things like bodybuilders, these studies on protein, guys, have been done for the average Joe, untrained people, and like athletes looking at performance. We're not talking about people trying to put on excessive large amounts of muscle. That in itself, some studies have even shown forcing protein intake alone, even without working out, has been shown to put on some muscle. And the more you train, the more protein you are going to require. This is one thing that I learned through years, and my buddy Emmerich Delsig is a huge proponent of this. When we get to where we're training a muscle twice a day, and I'll get into videos on that stuff later, but people don't realize that as long as your nutrition, supplementation, hormones, and rest are all on key, you can train a muscle 2, even 3 times in a day. A muscle, if it's not overtrained and you have adequate nutrition and rest, supplementation, and your hormone balance is good, can recover in as little as 6 hours and then perform the same as it did. That, again, you're going to activate more androgen receptors and stimulate protein synthesis even higher, and you're going to grow at a faster rate of speed. Problem is, most people don't eat enough protein. This is why at an extreme level, we see guys pack on 10, 12 pounds of muscle in a month at times. Now that's the extreme end, but it can happen, and I'm about to start showing some of that myself. So my training as of right now, I am training twice a day. I'm doing the push-pull leg split, but I'm doing it twice a day. I get up in the morning and I do like legs, for example, okay? I eat adequate nutrition through the day, make sure I take my Humanifort. That's a key for recovery and regeneration, hormone balance, and even being able to absorb up to 18% more protein from the villi in the small intestine. I can get into that on another video as well. I can talk about that stuff for days, okay? But 2 grams per pound of body weight is a little bit even over what I think I require, but I'm trying to hit 1.5. And if you see my buddy Johan, anybody that knows Johan and I are very good friends, and I help Johan quite a bit, and you'll see that his protein intake is extremely high, and as people have noticed, Johan has put on more muscle in the amount of time he's been training than any other guy in the X3 group, and there's a reason for that. He's doing things right, and his consistency is there. Johan's drinking a couple dozen eggs a day, eating a couple pounds of meat a day, and has obviously some fruit and some saturated fats. And I introduced Johan to olive oil because his saturated fat intake was extremely high and he felt bogged down. And, he started using a cup of olive oil a day. And you'll see, just like I've touted to everybody else, he got leaner and he's putting on muscle. So he has the calories there, the fatty acids needed, but he's not storing excess body fat. And I give hats off to Johan. Little byproduct, I'm actually working toward going to Sweden right now, and Johan and I are gonna probably do a video series, him and I training together, so stay tuned for that. Back into my protein intake, leg day today. I'm gonna try, because leg day is a big day, I'm going to try to shoot close to 2 grams per pound of body weight. Now, I'm talking extremely lean body weight, so most likely I'm going to hit 350 grams, something like that. But if I hit 400 grams, good for me, And the way that I have altered my TRT recently is also going to up my protein synthesis. And I'm going to have some more videos done on that. Dr. Jaquish and I actually just did a video on TRT and manipulating it and understanding that we can actually use healthy amounts and trick the body into getting results that most people thought before we would have to take like steroid cycles to get. And we'll get into that more, but there's some great things coming, and there's some actually really unique products coming to Primal Medical that are going to be exclusive to Primal Medical. So stay tuned for that. We got some. I'm pretty excited. We got some awesome stuff coming. Now, enough of spinning off. All that I'll cover in other videos. But then, money-wise, I'm not made of money, and most people aren't. If they are, good for them. But even at that, if I was a millionaire, I would still want to save money because I'd put it towards something else, right? An example, I'm drinking 18 eggs a day. I like to just drink them because all the cooking and all the bullshit, it just takes too much time. I can crack 6 or 8 eggs in a glass, guzzle it in like 4 gulps, it's gone. And then I'll just have like the Cosmic Crisp apple quick. I'll get into that a little bit. I do eat carbs. For those that don't eat carbs, good for you. That can be done too. But I utilize things with a little bit of fructose in it. That little bit of fructose spikes insulin just a little higher than is needed for the amount of carbohydrates in it. And your body can use that toward absorbing more protein. Like honey and some fruit, things like that. I'm not saying abuse fructose, stay the hell away from any kind of processed fructose, anything like that. But if it's small amounts from a natural source, it is not going to hurt you, okay? Depending on goals. Now, if your goals are just extreme weight loss, if you've had type 2 diabetes issues, things like that, obviously I'm not recommending you do any of that stuff. Contact me if you have issues like that, and I can, I offer consulting to people that need some help with that. I am the nutritional guy for Primal Medical Group, and that's for a reason, because I know what I'm doing, okay? And I like helping people. But for those that can't afford a Primal membership or can't afford me as a full-time coach, I do offer consultations. So write down a list of shit that you really need to know or want to know and need to know. Hire me, we'll set up a Zoom call and we'll hash it out. I won't cut you off at an hour. If we have to talk for 2 hours, I'll take my time and do it with you, so we want to do it right. My main goal is that you get out of it what you need, okay? But with that aside, carbohydrates, I mostly just eat fruit, and I try to, I keep it to where just enough to replace glycogen stores, fuel workouts, and keep a little bit of dopamine flowing through the day so I don't crash. I do not in any way abuse carbohydrates. I don't just sit down and eat carbs. That's completely asinine and completely unhealthy. But like I said, I love these little Cosmic Crisp apples. If anybody's ever tried a Cosmic Crisp apple, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, if you're somebody that does eat some carbohydrates, try the Cosmic Crisps. You'll think that Honey Crisps are crap after you eat a Cosmic Crisp apple. They're amazing. But like I said, that little bit of fructose in there, it spikes insulin just a little higher than is needed for the carbs that are in it. So if you have a high protein meal and then you eat something like that, you're going to get just a little extra insulin spike to drive a little extra amino acids into the muscle. The faster you can do that, the more protein you can absorb in a day, the better, okay? So we want to be able to absorb protein into the muscle as fast as possible. Also, papayas. And I'll get into money. This was like barely $4 for just over $4 for 3 pounds of these, okay? And I have 1 to 2 of these a day. I forget the name of this papaya, but it's not your normal papaya. This one kind of tastes like that. It has remember as a kid with those honeysuckles, the flowers you'd suck on? It tastes kind of like that. Papayas aren't one of the higher sugar content fruits. If you look at the grams of carbs per cup compared to other fruits, papayas are a little bit lower, so you can get away with eating a little more. I like that. But papaya contains papain. Papain is an enzyme that actually breaks down proteins in the stomach and it makes faster, so we can absorb them quicker. We end up absorbing more of them because they break down into smaller fragments and are absorbed through the small intestine better with these enzymes cultivating in our digestive tract, where some would actually slip all the way through without being broke down. So this is also going to up the amount of protein you can absorb in a day. So there are little things that we can benefit from carbohydrates. Do carbohydrates directly build muscle? No, they don't, okay? And we don't want to consume more than we're going to utilize in a day, because that would go directly to body fat storage. Now, if we're in a phase where our main priority is putting on muscle, and over the month we put on a half a pound of fat, whatever, I can take off a half a pound of fat in 1 day of fasting, so not too worried about that. Potatoes. This was like $5 for 10 pounds of russet potatoes, okay? It's one of my staple carb sources. For like dinner, I'll have a baked potato, okay? Not just, obviously, I just steak or something. Very nutritious, easy to digest. It's not going to tap out your stomach enzymes. And just all around, it's one of the better natural carbohydrate sources out there, okay? High in the nutrition side, not going to have a real extreme effect on blood sugars. And there also is a protein in potatoes that causes a satiated feeling where you feel satisfied. That's one thing I like when dieting down or at the end of the day, so I'm not like craving stuff and wanting to be hungry at night. If I have a baked potato with some olive oil on it, the baked potato itself contains something that helps you feel satisfied, and the olive oil is not going to hurt you. Like, I've proven this 1,000 times over. You can't get fat on olive oil, but it's going to help you feel satisfied and actually feel pretty good. So that's some examples of like my carbohydrates, okay? Now protein, we shop around. You know, eggs have been getting expensive, but my fiance and I found today there were $2.39 a dozen for eggs. So I get almost 150 grams of protein for $5, and eggs we absorb even up to over half of the protein in them. Where, let's say, whey protein is an example that I call garbage because we only absorb like 18% of the protein in whey protein. That's why in Dr. Jaquish's product, Fortigen, it gives you an example, like 2 scoops of Fortigen, you get the same amount of protein you would from 100 grams of whey protein. There's something we need to straighten out there. It doesn't mean those 2 scoops are equal to eating 100 grams of protein. That's something that I've had 100 people think. They'll say, oh, I'm eating 200 grams of protein a day. I ate a steak and 2 scoops of Fortigen. No, okay? Compared to whey protein, but whey protein is shit, okay? If you were comparing it to like eggs, 10 grams of Fortigen would be considered like 20 grams of protein, okay? And you also need the other amino acids for the essential amino acids to make all the proteins needed. We can't just eat the EAAs. It's a supplement. I love Fortigen, awesome supplement, especially for preserving muscle while fasting, sneaking in some extra protein, things like that. Fermented aminos are awesome, but it's just that. It's a supplement, and don't think you're gonna up your protein intake 100 grams a day by scooping a little bit of fermented aminos into it. You need to get the bulk of your protein always from food. Now, eggs are the most nutritionally complete protein source there is out there. The yolk contains everything that is needed to develop a living embryo. We could literally just live on eggs, and that's no joke. It makes me laugh because when I was a kid, I wanted to start building muscle. I started eating eggs, and my mom snarkily said, if you want to put on muscle, you need to just eat more than just eggs. And it's funny, years later, she was wrong. You can literally just live on eggs, okay? And we absorb the largest amount of protein from eggs than most other protein sources. You know, maybe a really easy to digest white fish would be another one that you would absorb a pretty large amount of the protein in it. And from there we have like chicken and beef. That could be 30 to 35%. And that's why I tell guys, instead of whey protein, drink a grass-fed beef protein isolate and mix it with some olive oil to slow the digestion down. That's a much better choice. You're not going to have digestive issues. You're not going to have whey protein itself actually can contribute to type 2 diabetes even, okay? Inflammation in the body, acne. It'll even convert to ammonia because your body can't get rid of it because the fractions of it aren't completely broken down, so your body can't absorb it, but they're small enough to get through the small intestine, just like the gluten issue. And after it circulates long enough, your body starts releasing insulin to get rid of it. It won't go away. Eventually, the body converts it to ammonia so you can piss it out. That's why there's a lot of these bodybuilders that used to drink shitloads of whey protein and they'd start sweating in the gym and they'd smell like cat piss. And that's why a lot of them had, acne all the time. Their face was red, things like that. It was the whey protein. The stuff is garbage. Whey protein, it was a marketing gimmick. They used to not know what to do with it. They used to spray it on farm fields. When they made cheese, they had all this whey left, and they actually used to just spray it on farm fields to help fertilize it. And somebody had this brilliant idea, let's just make a really bitter, shitty protein powder out of this and pay some bodybuilders to be on the label, and we'll tell everybody in the magazines that bodybuilders drink whey protein. When in all reality, very few decent bodybuilders actually do. The only whey protein that you could get away with, for the most part, would be hydrolyzed, where it's broken down into peptides so you can absorb more of it. But even at that aspect, your blood aminos go so high, you end up burning a lot of it off as heat. So again, if you're going to supplement with protein, use a fermented amino like Fortigen. And I say I've had really good luck with an isolated beef protein. Okay, so $2.39 a dozen. You got 7 dozen eggs here for maybe a smidge over $15. So the excuse of you just shop around, be smart, shop around. Another example here, my fiance and I took huge advantage of this. We made an entire prime rib for Thanksgiving, and there was a limit at the store of 1 per purchase of these. So I rang up my groceries and bought one. Then she rang up some of her groceries and bought one. Then we went back later and bought one. There was a digital coupon. They were on sale, and then we found a digital coupon. We paid $4.97 a pound for a rib roast. It's prime rib. Okay, so and there's the bone in there, but we cut steaks out of it. So we're eating ribeye, I guess you would call it, ribeye steaks for $4.97 a pound. We cut them 1.5 inches thick and have at it. We've had a blast. So this is 4 pounds, roughly 4 pounds. So we paid about $20 for 4 pounds of ribeye steak. The only difference is we just had to cut it ourselves, but big deal. I'm guessing we bought 15, 16 pounds of it. We've been really, and again, there's not a reason to eat so much of the saturated fat. So what we do is trim some of the visible fat off of it. And some people are like, ooh, that's the best part. But you know what? Whatever, you want to be a fat ass, go ahead and eat that stuff. But it tastes just fine. If you trim some of the fat off, then you cook it and some of the fat renders out. Then another thing, for years I ate chicken breasts because that was just what bodybuilders did, I guess, and they were cheap. We used to get the 5-pound bags of frozen chicken breasts for like $4. Unless it's cooked just right, fresh on the grill, I can't stand chicken breasts anymore, guys. I eat the chicken, skinless, boneless thighs, okay? And you see the little bits of fat on here. The thighs have 4.5 grams of fat per 4 ounces. But if you take the scissors, you can see the visible fat. I just bust these suckers out and take the meat scissors and snip that fat off of it. Well, now you're down to a couple grams, okay? It's damn near as lean as a chicken breast that way. Damn near. Within like a gram per 4 ounces. And these stay real juicy and tender and have really good flavor. I have some seasonings that I like to use. I'll show my buddy's Big Sky seasonings in another video. I owe him a video on that, my buddy Pete. But then today I found, for example, I got 4.5 pounds of ground chuck. And there's a special buy 25% off. I paid $3 a pound for this. Okay? So 4.5 pounds of ground chuck. I think it was like 13 bucks, something like that. Now the fat content in ground chuck's a little bit high, okay? So what I'll do is make patties out of these, and then I put them on a very low heat. So I end up rendering half the fat out of it. And when I do that, then it cuts the fat content literally in half, okay? So instead of 20 grams of fat for 4 ounces, I cut it down to like 10. And I've done it in the oven at a couple hundred degrees to where you almost get all of it out. But for the money, this would have been $18.27, and then there was a 25% off coupon special for today. And I ended up paying like $13 for 4.5 pounds of this. So right here, I got 4 pounds of steak, 7 dozen eggs, 3 pounds of, 2.5 pounds of skinless, boneless chicken thighs. I have a shitload of protein here, and I think we tallied up. I had spent somewhere on this like 40 bucks, and then and bought the carbs. So I had some potatoes, a papaya, the apples, and I did get a pineapple. I'm sharing that with my fiance, but pineapple again has bromelain in it, and bromelain's like the papain. It actually helps you digest more protein, okay? And then from there, I substitute, I eat a lot of the egg yolks. Those are about as nutritionally as complete as you want for fats. I lean up my protein sources otherwise best I can, and use quite a bit of olive oil. And that way I can get my calorie intake is up over 4,000, but I don't get any fatter, okay? So that's something that I think my buddy Johan just finished writing a book, and he probably covers some of that stuff in there as well. So it's not a big secret how we put on muscle and stay leaner. It's consistency. We just don't fold. We don't eat like assholes. We eat what we're supposed to eat. We eat large amounts of it when we do, so we're satisfied, and we don't even want to eat anything else. When you're eating enough protein, when you're eating a couple hundred grams of protein in a sitting, the last thing you want to do is eat more food. So for a lot of the guys out there that are trying to say, we've proven it, Jaquish and I just did a video on it, trying this bullshit excuse that taking super high doses of TRT, that actually doesn't work. It only works for 8 weeks, and then there's a way that your body counteracts it, and you have no higher levels than a healthy guy. So that excuse is bullshit. The excuse of, hard to get your food in or whatever, that's bullshit. And I've even heard lately there's ridiculous things where a guy doesn't want to spend 2 hours a week cooking, and you know what, that's your problem. Or, you know, what's another one? Oh, working out. A lot of these guys have the X3 system, and they'll be like, well, I have the kids and work and whatever, and I can't believe that people actually try to tell me that, thinking that I'm going to buy into that. And all it tells me is they actually must be believing their own bullshit. Because I'll tell you guys, I raised 2 kids on my own without a mother and competed in bodybuilding. I built a gym in my basement. Any of my buddies can tell you this. I used to work 12-hour shifts in a fucking sawmill and raised 2 kids on my own without a mother, and still made it to the national level of bodybuilding. So these dumbass excuses that you can't get your 15-minute X3 workout in and eat proper nutrition because of, the kids or whatever, we know it's bullshit. You can get your fat ass out of bed 15 minutes early, crank out half your workout, come home, do a set. How much time you sit on the couch in a day? While you're sitting on the couch, you could be standing there doing some curls. Especially with having the X3 system at our disposal, we don't even have to go to the gym. We can do it while we're watching TV. We can get up in the morning and do a couple sets. Midday do a couple sets. End of the day do a couple sets. That's one of my favorite ways to work out, because you don't even feel like you're working out. I used to get up in the morning, and I used to document this. I'd get up in the morning, and every day I would do a set of deadlifts after I take my morning piss. Then I'd go out and drink some water and get my food prepping for the day when I was working in a sawmill. And I would do a set of bicep curls while my food was preparing. Then I'd get dressed, and then do a set of chest press, and then pack my food and head out the door. And then when I would get home from work, I would do a couple of movements, take a shower or whatever. While I was watching TV, do a movement. I didn't even feel like I worked out. I had a pull-up bar in my doorway of my bedroom. On my way to the room once in a while, I would just do a set of pull-ups, and then it literally took 1 minute of my time. So just understand that the food thing, being, whether it's too expensive or you don't have time to cook or whatever, that's bullshit. Not having time to work out, that's bullshit. And trying to make yourself feel better that the guys that make gains is because they're abusing hormones, and if you did that, you could look like them too. I feel sorry for guys that say things like that, because all you're doing is lying to yourself to feel better for your lack of ambition. And because the guys, no matter who it is, even if they're taking stuff, if they have a great physique, they're working their asses off and they're eating what they need to. Even drug use is not going to make up for that kind of stuff. And then from there's also the aspect of some genetics. And some people, and genetics can become over quite a bit, but if you don't have the genetics to look like Mr. Olympia, quit trying to blame it, on the fact that he's on a bunch of drugs or something. Just accept the guy's gifted and give him credit for what he's doing, because he's busting his ass. Anybody that's, for example, on the Olympia stage has paid their fucking dues, and they deserve where they're at. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll have more videos to come. I got a lot of things to talk about. We got lots of stuff to talk about on testosterone, nutrition, training, even mindset of things, supplements, Humanifort, you name it. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about, and it's all real. And I'm going to be showing everybody And these next few months, I'm going to have my physique back, and I'm going to do it all healthy. I can see my blood work. Everybody will know exactly what I'm taking. I'm doing TRT from Primal Medical. Currently been doing the microdosing of the cypionate to 10 milligrams a day. For the delusional idiots out there that don't understand that, 10 milligrams a day is like a third of what most doctors prescribe guys for TRT. But I know how it works and how to manipulate it so your levels are actually higher on that little bit, and you don't shut your system down so your body doesn't counteract it. I'll go into more of that. But then I also take the oral Kaisertrex, the new oral testosterone. I take a small amount of that before I work out with some fat to help slow the digestion down a bit. So I keep my levels around 1,000, and then I just get a little spike right before my workouts when I activate those androgen receptors. And there's a new product coming out with Primal that's going to shake the world. Dr. Serrano's been doing some studies on it, and it's going to revolutionize TRT. Okay, the black market steroid dealers are going to hate it. I mean, they're always going to have some business because there's always going to be a bunch of idiots out there that believe that you have to take a bunch of crap and there's some magic in taking Trenbolone. But guys, let's leave those assholes in the dust, and let's live to be 100 years old and look jacked. And you know what? I want to be accused of being on a bunch of shit. It just means I'm doing stuff right. And the guys that are doing it wrong are trying to make excuses for the fact that they don't know anything. Okay? Stick with me, and I will teach you how to do it right. Okay? I'm not going to give away all information. But like I said, I am available for consulting. If you can't afford me as a full-time coach, you can pay for my consulting from time to time. And I'm also looking at opening up my website finally, which is going to be a subscription base. And I'm going to have forums in there that people that are members, we're going to have ones that are on hormones and peptides, training with variable resistance, the X3 with weights, nutrition, different forums for everybody to share information. Myself, Emmerich Delsig, and John Jaquish, and some other top name guys will chime in. My buddy Wesley Inman, I'll have him in there from time to time. And we'll have some good sponsorships with supplements that are real. Primal Medical, Humanifort, Gym and Tonic supplements, all that kind of stuff. People will get exclusive discounts. So you'll save just in the discounts the price of the 1-year membership. And I will go into the forums every day and answer people's questions and make custom videos just for the group. And Emmerich Delsig and I, once or twice a month, will make custom videos. I'll make some videos with John Jaquish. I'll make some videos with, you've seen that I friends on with Brian Balzano, Tony Freeman. We're going to have a lot of IFBB pros that are doing things the way that I am touting it. Thank God for the friends I have and the knowledge I have and my ability to do this, because we are changing the world. So my rant is done, but here it is. Up on the protein intake and giving you a good example how to save a few bucks and get an ass load of good protein. And from here, I'm gonna slam down some raw eggs and get ready to go train some legs. Okay? Hope everybody has a good weekend. Bye.